Yeah, like those what was it, 60 keys? Or how many keys he lost?
Yeah, that was
And,
going to Arkansas. And wait a minute, who was waiting for the keys in Arkansas? Corey Taylor was in Arkansas at the time that bust happened, and it was heading to Arkansas. Now, you can't make this stuff up. And then they find kilos of cocaine in Corey Taylor's personal locker at the Compton PD,
yeah, what he
corruption
had like
report.
two kilos in his
Two
locker.
kilos in his personal locker. And I don't know what those are. I've never seen those before, and they have to cut the lock off, and he storms out and he gets fired over that.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting? I was looking at that 95 or 100-page report, right? And going through that Compton what is it, corruption report.
Yep, 95
I
page Compton corruption report.
Right. Yeah. Going through that, right? And I'm sitting here reading this thing, right? And at some point I'm like, how is all this cocaine and guns and drugs going missing in the precinct and y'all all cops?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hold on. You tell me y'all all are police and there's a police house and someone is stealing inside the precinct and y'all all cops? What kind of precinct is this? Now I understand why it don't exist no more.
Exactly. And that's why we see, the predicate for all this stuff is really the Tim Brennan affidavit. So you have the corrupt cops that are controlling the narrative. And you see some of those corrupt cops on the MGM surveillance. And I've talked to witnesses who saw them at the MGM in previous fights, and they were working off duty security. I talked to an old salty dog security guy, and he said, we always hire gang cops when we're doing events that are going to attract the Crips and the Bloods because we need them to be there to sort out what's what if something goes down. So this
Right.
was standard practice at the MGM. They hired them. And wait a minute, who are the gang cops? Wait a minute. So the Compton PD, the LAPD, including probably Greg Kading, he was a gang cop at the time. And so it makes sense that they're all there. And they're the ones that have controlled this narrative. And if you walk it forward, we're dealing with nothing but what they had said in the Tim Brennan affidavit. And,
Right.
the easiest thing to attack is Orlando Anderson was in the car. And once you take Orlando Anderson out of the car, this case crumbles. And
Yeah,
it's
that's why
easy.
everybody starts talking about, oh, it was Dre, because they said it was a big meteor. With all these, you telling me for the last 25 years, y'all was saying Orlando. Suge Knight says Orlando wasn't the shooter. Now it was the big meteor, it was Dre. But Keefe D said Dre was scared to shoot. So when do y'all want to believe Keefe D? When it benefits your story? If Keefe D said he was scared to shoot and Orlando took the gun from him and he shot, why? Like, where did Andre or DeAndre Smith become the shooter? Only soon as when Suge says Orlando wasn't the shooter,
Yeah,
they switched the story.
that's it. And we were actually in contact with Russell Poole, and I were in contact at the time of Russell's death with Suge Knight through his lawyers. And we were confirming these things, and we took that to the sheriffs. Now, I was disinvited from the meeting, and I think we can talk specifically about why was Russell Poole murdered at the sheriff's office. I can give you 8 billion reasons. $1 billion for Tupac, $1 billion for Biggie. That's 2 billion plus triple damages. That's $8 billion the city would have to pay out if they were found liable for those murders. And we had determined that the conspiracy began in Balboa Park with Reggie and David Kenner. And we didn't make that up. That was told to us through Chris Blatchford. and a confession letter. And so if it was determined that the conspiracy began in Los Angeles and Rafael Perez was at the crime scene in the Biggie, kicking the shell casings, fucking up the crime scene, then guess what? They're liable for the murder. And if it was determined that there were LAPD cops on duty in Las Vegas at the time of Tupac's murder, which we know from the FBI files that that's true, we see cops on the MGM surveillance tape. We see Orlando standing there as a patsy, already determined what was going to happen. Then LA does not want this to see the light of day. And so Russell Poole, who was never going to be silent, is going to the sheriffs, and they have to silence him. And that's why Russell Poole's not with us.
I believe that to be true because we're dealing with some ruthless people. And two things. One, what I come to find out through research by listening to the Compton cops, I can't think of their names right now, but they refer to Reggie Wright Jr. allegedly as Junie, right?
Yep.
I come to find out listening to them that the reason that Reggie Wright Jr. allegedly went on disability is because he was about to get fired that day. And one of them Compton cops told him that they was gonna fire him, and the only way that he could save himself if it was through injury. And allegedly Reggie fell down and hurt himself to so he wouldn't get fired and get disability. And from that day forth, he's been getting disability from the Compton PD ever since. And if you follow his career, you see that the same thing that he did for the Compton PD, he did for Death Row Records. He was on his feet. He was walking around. He was traveling with Suge. He was doing security. He may not have been patrolling the neighborhood and stuff, but he was still mobile for a person that sits there and gets disability and brags about it to this day. I was mind blown to find out that allegedly he fell and hurt himself because he was going to get fired that day.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And Kevin Hackey talked about that too, how that was all contrived. And they backdated an injury from an accident that happened in the car and then this other thing. And, you know, Kevin Hackey talked about how that was a scam back in 98 when he interviewed with Russell Poole and Fred Miller. So this isn't anything new, and we're not the ones alleging it. That was alleged back in 98 by Kevin Hackey.
Right. Well, for me, I would believe that it's true coming from these guys. And this cop, I don't think he had any reason to lie or to make up some story because clearly Reggie Wright Jr. has not been hurt to the capacity of he wasn't able to perform his security officer duties at Death Row Records.
Well,
and
now,
still get a pension today, even after a federal conviction of selling drugs and money laundering. He still gets his pension that he brags about that he wasn't even really heard about, allegedly.
And Senior gets his pension, and he was convicted of money laundering. They were both indicted for money laundering and drug trafficking, but Senior was not convicted. He didn't take a plea deal for drug trafficking. He just took a plea deal for money laundering. And so,
Right.
you know, they're both convicted felons.
Yeah.
And so it's not conjecture that the Compton PD were corrupt. They were known as drug dealers back then. And back to Hackey, 1998. And Fred Miller, who was the head of detectives at the time for LAPD, said Reggie is known to control the drug trafficking in Compton. And then we see in the PAO book that it's Keefe D and Reggie. And so those guys obviously had a relationship. And then Reggie's...
And this is way before Tupac.
Yeah, this is way before Tupac. And then there's Reggie's wife was Tupac's girlfriend. I mean, not Tupac's girlfriend. Reggie's wife was Keefe D's girlfriend.
Well, Suge dated her too.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, you know, that was common back then. I mean, there were, a number of people that were, just scandalous. And, there was all kinds of craziness that was going on. And Suge was out there, and Sharitha was out there, and, they were all having a good time. It was part of the party, and
Right.
all kinds of craziness going on.